Hey everyone, it's Yuna, and I'm recording this on Tuesday around noon my time, which is between the maintenance of Bungie putting down Solstice and putting up Act 3 for Episode 1. I'm really excited to talk about this because this event was pretty good, all things considered. I'm going to be comparing it to two things mainly. I'm going to be comparing it to Dawning, and I'm going to be comparing it to previous solstices that I have played, which is Witch Queen and Lightfall. So to start, it was kind of slow. It kind of gave you this big 36-step quest, which to me was a little daunting because I didn't really know what I was going to have to do. Especially when last year when we had the Festival of the Lost, and it was kind of just like one of the worst events literally ever, with all the lost sectors and everything you had to grind, miserable. But this year, they gave us a quest item called the Solstice Forge, which allowed us to access the loot grind from anywhere in the game as long as you could get into your quest menu, which, again, is anywhere. Completing activities gave you these silver leaves. These silver leaves were used for two things: re-rolling bounties and purchasing bounties. It was great that you could access it in all activities, even if you were loadout locked. You didn't need to go to a new destination. And if you even wanted to, you could still talk to Evan in the tower like normal if you just like happen to be there, like not a big deal. My friends finished this a lot faster than me because I was away for the first week of Solstice. It didn't really wind up biting me in the butt, but it definitely didn't help me trying to get the loot I wanted and ultimately not getting the loot I wanted. I was mostly grinding Bonfire Bash because I really wanted a good Compass Rose. I wound up getting a slide shot one, but not the threat detector one I wanted, but we'll see. Maybe it'll actually be better for the way I play the game. But the bounties were simple until they weren't. There were 3 tiers of bounties. There was white, green, and gold. The white ones were like kill enemies. The green ones were either generate orbs or kill enemies with no, there were 3. It was either generate orbs, kill enemies with a certain subclass, or no, that was it. And then the gold ones were either do GMs, do raid encounters, do dungeon encounters, do nightfalls to achieve points, which this week for Exodus Crash was 2 GMs, but for Liminality, I believe it was 1. I don't know. I didn't do that bounty for Liminality because I don't like grinding Liminality, especially since it was Undercurrent last week. So, like, I'm not grinding Liminality for Undercurrent. Knowing how to make orbs really, really helped. Doing those green bounties was kind of the bread and butter for my group. We were just like, oh, I'm going to generate orbs. Most of my friends play on Consecration Titan a lot. I only play Hunter. So what it really came down to was how can you optimize your build to make as many orbs and also complete a lot of content very quickly. It got to the point where, last night we were doing Devil's Lair just for strange coins, and it wound up working out really well because we got silver leaves for it. We got strange coins because Zer was selling the exotic class item. I'll make a video about that the next time Zer sells the exotic class item. But until then, if it's just a one-off thing, I don't really want to talk about it. But knowing how to make orbs really, really helped. And if you had extra leaves to spare, you were able to re-roll until you got specifically what you wanted to do. If you wanted to do raids or GMs or whatever it was, you were able to get everything you needed. So, what was the gameplay moment-to-moment kind of like? Bonfire Bash was fine. Bonfire Bash was where you got the guns outside of... Once you completed a certain bounty tier, like for either your helmet, arms, yada, 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 you were able to redo those bounties that you were doing to get the alloy for your armor to get guns and high stat armor. Some of this armor was actually really, really good. I wound up getting a few good pieces of armor. I wound up getting a couple really good guns. Especially, I wound up with a really good something new. But if you were playing on more than one character, like a lot of people in my group do, they said that their experience on their off characters was mostly doing GMs. Since if they just wanted to play the game, do whatever they were doing, control, strikes, nightfalls, raid encounters, dungeons. They wanted to play on their main character, so they weren't getting progress towards their armor. So they were mostly doing GMs. But that meant on your main character, you're passively getting a whole bunch of loot. You're passively getting a bunch of good armor for your class. You're passively getting a lot of guns. But the problem is, for a lot of people, this armor didn't matter. But that's for another day. We'll talk about that eventually. Armor not mattering is such a problem right now, but it's not really... it's not within the scope of what I want to talk about today. To talk about the loot, Compass Rose was the highlight gun. Giving everyone Matador twice in the same year in both slots is kind of a really good idea. I really like when Bungie says, hey, I realize that this thing might be really good, so instead of nerfing it or devaluing everyone's time, we'll just give everyone the option to do this. I really enjoyed that they gave Compass Rose a lot of really good rolls. This is the first year since Compass Rose has been out, in my opinion, that it was a good gun. It gets slide shot, it gets threat detector, it gets opening shot in the right column, which is all you care about. But the gun I really want to talk about right now is Crowning Duologue. You know, obviously it stinks that these guns are gone for a year because they are good and they are useful right now. But Crowning Duologue is kind of a really interesting one to look at. It's a precision strand rocket that gets reconstruction and bipod. So for just general content, it's really good for Transcendence to build out that Darkness meter. Compared to something like Cold Comfort, which you have to play Ghost of the Deep and farm Ghost of the Deep to get a good one, and is only good with Envious Assassin for what we're talking about right now, Crowning Duologue is really good. Something New is a good PvP option for those who want a 120 that does darkness damage to build the Transcendence meter, especially if you're on Hunter, where if you're running something like Igneous Hammer, you're probably not getting your Transcendence in a game, or Trials at least. Additionally, it gets Elemental Capacitor for a big stat buff, and it pushes an instrument in the right column, and I've really grown to like Precision Instrument. Fortunate Star is a gun. It does exist, it's in the game. But this event overall, like moment for moment, pound for pound, was a really great Dawning style event where every playstyle across all activities was encouraged and rewarded. But it was 100% balanced around PvE. 100% balanced around PvE. I wish more bounties that you got from the thing, from the Solstice Forge, were either A, achievable in PvP, or B, granted bonus progress, but hopefully both. I hope next year they say, hey, listen, guys who want to play Control, who don't want to grind Strikes all day, who don't want to grind Devil's Lair all day, who don't want to grind Bonfire Bash all day, you guys, I'm going to throw you a bone, and I'm going to say, hey, get solar kills against targets instead of against combatants. Just something like that, you know? And my one little nitpick was that I wish Bonfire Bash didn't drop armor. I was mentioning earlier that low stat armor is really useless for all players. And the good armor only came from the bounties. But to have the armor drop, you already had it in collections, so getting it to drop with like a 48 to a 56 stat roll, it didn't make sense. The only reason I bring this up is because I wish Bungie would have given us extra Glimmer, extra Strange Coins, Silver Leaves, or even World Drop Weapons. If they gave us World Drop Weapons and were like, hey guys, I know you can't farm, I don't know, what's a good World Drop Weapon? Crux Termination from Lost Sectors yet, or Controlling Vision from Lost Sectors yet, or Domino from Lost Sectors yet. Like, yeah, sure, some of these guns are not like the cream of the crop, but they are guns that people like, and they are guns that are reasonable to want. Especially something like Crux Termination. I really like Crux Termination. That is the aggressive arc rocket launcher that gets a lot of really cool rolls. What do you guys think? What do you think about the loot for Solstice? What do you think about the moment to moment? What do you think about the Solstice Forge? Did you like it? Did you like Bonfire Bash instead of the EAZ? Did you like the guns? Did you like the armor? Did you like the glows? Did you like the grind? Did you not like the grind? Did you think it was too much? Did you think it was leaning too heavily on doing Grandmaster Nightfalls? Do you think that the push to do more endgame content to get better loot is good? Personally, I think that the push to do more endgame content is fantastic. I really, really appreciate that Bungie was like, hey guys, you know this content that like is in the game? Go play it. It might really help encourage players to want to do Grandmaster Nightfalls, to want to jump into a dungeon, to want to ask their friends to raid. But let me know what you guys think. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful day. Thank you so much for supporting me, and I'll see you guys in Act 3.